Hello, everybody, and welcome to this live event. We're currently live streaming in about 20 countries, I suppose. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. So I hope that a lot of people are watching, so I can give you an update about what's happening with the global fleet. Of course, we're in a different situation. The world has changed forever, and we're just some countries are recovering from the pandemic. Others are still in the middle of it. Others are being hit by second waves. So the situation worldwide is still terrible. And our ships have been in port in self-quarantine pretty much since the beginning of this pandemic. So for the last 3.5 months, our ships have been in port, and we used that time wisely to prepare to do the serious maintenance that we needed, to do the chipping of the rust, the painting, the engine repairs. And our ships are now ready to go back to sea. Unfortunately, because of our absence, international poaching has continued, and some of the illegal fishing actually has increased. So now more than ever are we needed to return to the front lines. So this event is meant to give you a little bit of an update what's happening. Two of our ships have left port, the Sam Simon and the Bob Barker, and they're about to go back on campaign. So we obviously need your support to help get our vessels back out in the action. This is a fundraiser that we're doing right now. This fundraiser is made possible by a generous donation of Philip Wallen, a longtime supporter of Sea Shepherd. He's been supporting us. He's been part of our family, actually. He's not just a supporter. He's really a Sea Shepherd member. He pretty much adopted the crew back in Melbourne 15 years ago, and he's been supporting us. He's been part of us ever since. Him and his wife, Trix, they've been part of this organization ever since. And Philip has generously offered 100,000 Australian dollars, which is 60,000 euros, as a matching gift. So anybody who donates to our fundraiser, for the first 60,000 euros, Philip will match that amount. So basically, if you donate 100 euros, we get 200 euros. If you donate 5 euros, we get 10 euros. So everything is helpful, and we just want to really reach that target as soon as possible so we can keep our ships out on campaign. The 3.5 months that we've been sitting in port was longer than we anticipated. We were hoping that we would be back out in the action within 2 months. We had a 2-month schedule planned, and of course everything changed with the pandemic. But we managed to keep our ships corona-free. We invested a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort into our medical supplies. We have oxygen producing equipment on board in case somebody does get infected with the coronavirus, that we'll be able to treat our crew on board. But of course, that means if we do get a case of corona on board, we would have to return to port and stop our campaigns, because being on a ship, you pretty much put your entire crew at risk. So it's really important that we keep our ships virus-free. And so far, of course, we're very lucky and very happy that we managed to keep that, and we really intend to keep it that way. Now, going back out on campaign, we're going to go back to West Africa with 2 of our vessels, where we have 6 and 9 months campaigns lined up. And so for one ship, 6 months, other ship, 9 months campaigns already lined up. We have various countries that are waiting for our arrival, and together with our government partners in those countries, we'll be resuming those campaigns. So it's really important that we get our ships the necessary supplies, necessary equipment, the fuel that is needed for these campaigns. So please donate to this fundraising. We really need your support now more than ever. Poaching has increased, as I mentioned, and we really need to get that amount up there. We have a very good video from Philip Wallen while he was on board. He was on board during the West Africa campaigns, and he saw firsthand what happens on our ships, and he could see firsthand one of the campaigns that was underway. So we have this really great video where Philip tells you why he's supporting Sea Shepherd. So we're going to watch that video now, and then later I'll come back.
The oceans are dying in our time. By 2047, all our fisheries will be dead, the lungs and the arteries of the earth. Trawlers are going up and down these waters, cleaning out the oceans, and those fish are going to wealthy countries. But here at Sea Shepherd, particularly out here on these campaigns, we say, yes, a catastrophe is coming, but we will stop it. I'm in West Africa, on the West African coast, on the Bob Barker ship, with a wonderful Sea Shepherd crew. When there is a problem, the Sea Shepherd ships are the first to respond, because they have a team of young, energetic, smart, courageous young people willing to put themselves on the line to protect the most precious of all things. So that is why I support Sea Shepherd so strongly. Part of this trip has opened my eyes to another need. We need our campaigns to be increased. Therefore, I'm going to be providing a matching grant. So I welcome you all to a battle in a war that decency cannot afford to lose.
Yeah, Philip is an amazing man. I mean, what he's done for Sea Shepherd and for the planet. I mean, his foundation is funding so many groups around the world. He's done so much for this planet. So we're very, very grateful that he's been with us for so long. And of course, we're very, very grateful that we are able to do this fundraiser using that generous donation. We're basically going to answer some questions. If anybody has any question about the fundraiser, about the upcoming campaigns, we cannot say where the ships are going to be. As is standard procedure, we don't release our location until we make the first arrest. That way we are able to sneak up to the poachers. If we would say where we're going, then the poachers would pretty much vacate that area, and that kind of defeats the purpose. So we're close to our campaign grounds, and I hope that in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to announce the first arrests. So in the last 3.5 years, we were able, together with our government partners, to arrest 53 illegal fishing vessels, and we're really hoping that we can increase that number substantially this year. If there anybody has any questions? I am going to introduce Lucas Eriksson. He's been our IT brain behind this live feed. Lucas is actually in Denmark. I'm in Amsterdam. So Lucas will read the questions to me. So if you hear a voice, that's Lucas.
Hey everyone, nice to have you with us today. Good to see a lot of you joining. Yeah, so please, any comments that you have or any questions that you have for Captain Alex, please put them in the question. I can already see there's been a few. The first one I see here from Ulla Modoni is are ships able to go out and save the last vaquitas?
Yes, the Vaquita campaign will start as scheduled. Normally, we start with the Vaquita campaign in September, and we're on track to make that happen. Obviously, the situation in Mexico is far worse than it is in Europe currently. The situation there with the number of COVID cases is unfortunately still very, very high, as opposed to Europe, where the situation seems to be reasonably under control. So we're hoping to get, that the Mexican government will be able to get those numbers down as well. And of course, that's terrible for the people who live in Mexico. It's also a very big risk for our crew. But we are hopeful that everything will proceed as planned. So yes, will be able to be in the Vaquita area, in the Vaquita reserve as scheduled.
All right, and we have Liam Strong asking, out on campaign, will shore leaves and resupplies be handled responsibly and safely when dealing with areas that might still be affected?
Yes, well, that's a good question. Of course, our logistics have changed quite a bit. Normally, we would have crew changes during the campaign. That is unfortunately impossible now. So everybody that joined the ship pretty much has signed on for 3 months. And after the 3 months, we'll be going to a safe port, and we'll do a full crew change. So that's very different from what we normally do. That pretty much means nobody's allowed to leave the ship or come on board until we are finished with our 3-month campaign, and then we'll do a full crew change. Now we've pretty much taken all our crew into quarantine before they joined the ship. So people that came into to the port where the ships were docked, spent 2 weeks in isolation in an apartment that we rented for each crew member to make sure that nobody was infected with the virus when they came on board. Going into our African partner countries, the Coast Guard officials that we have on board, they are also in a 2-week quarantine. So we're taking it very, very seriously. We have our medical advisory board has given us a lot of information about what to do with boarding procedures, washing your hands, of course, wearing the mask. So we take this very, very, very seriously. And the last thing we need is an outbreak of COVID on board, because that pretty much would not only put our crew at risk, but it would also stop the campaign. So we want to prevent that at all cost.
Excellent. Jay Nedeo, any word from Singapore, because that's where the Ocean Warrior is? Has the Ocean Warrior been giving permission to leave Singapore so it can get back to work?
Yes, unfortunately, Singapore is still in somewhat stricter lockdown than Europe was. So we're still waiting for those restrictions to be lifted, and then we'll have to send a new crew. Our current crew on board, there's only 4 of our people on board. They've been holding the fort for 5 months, 6 months. It's amazing, and it's big respect for those people on board. Unfortunately, we can't move the Ocean Warrior as of now, but we're hoping that situation will be resolved in the next couple of weeks, and that we'll be able to get the Ocean Warrior also back out on campaign.
Excellent. We have another one here, Sabine Utelbach. Sorry for butchering the names there. Why have you stopped your campaigns against the whale slaughterers? Thanks for your work.
Which one you mean?
I'm assuming
Antarctica?
it's the Southern Ocean.
Yeah, the Southern Ocean. Well, the Japanese whaling fleet hasn't returned to Antarctica. I mean, this past year there was no whale hunt in the Antarctic. Japan has announced that they will resume commercial whaling, and that pretty much makes the killing of whales in the Antarctic whale sanctuary impossible. So instead, they're focusing on the Northern Pacific whale hunt, which is something that they've been doing ever since the beginning. So that hunt is continuing, but now also because of COVID, they're suffering tremendous losses, and it's even in Japan Times. There was an article recently where they question whether or not this whaling operation is even sustainable, which clearly is not. So we haven't gone down to Antarctica because there is no whaling at the moment. So our campaigns have been very successful over the last. We started the first campaign in 2002, so it's almost 20 years, and we saved over 6,000 whales. And in the end, Japanese whaling has stopped in the Antarctic, and that was our mission, to shut down Antarctic whaling. So the reason we haven't gone down there is because there is no whaling.
Excellent. I have a name here. I'm not going to try to pronounce this. Just asking, is there an age limit or any skills required for volunteering aboard one of the vessels or campaigns?
Yeah, we do have an age limit. To be on our ship, you have to be legally independent. So basically, you have to be 18 years old. That's a liability, of course, because if something happens to somebody under 18, then it's a liability for us. So we keep that age limit. You have to be 18 to be on our ships. You can still volunteer on land if you're younger than that. That's no problem. But 18 to be in our ships, and you can be as old as, if you can still walk around and you're still able to fulfill your duties, then there is no age limit. I think the oldest crew member we ever had on board was 83, John Cord from England, back in 2004 in Curacao. She joined. She was on the bridge with me. It was a great experience to have somebody of her age on board. So yeah, there's no age limit. Anybody can pretty much join. What was the second part of the question? Okay. Yeah, skills. Of course, the more skills you have, the better your chances. But we're hoping to, in the future, to be able to expand our fleet and to get more people. We do have a lot of people interested right now. So the more experience you have, if you're a navigator, a marine engineer, then or a small boat mechanic, or you're an established photographer or videographer, then of course your chances to come on board are greater, and you'll probably be on board sooner. But other than that, persistency wins. If you really want to come on board, just keep pestering our crewing department, and eventually they'll get tired of you and put you on a ship.
There you go. I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that.
I'm sure
Um,
you probably will be happy to hear that. Yeah.
yep.
Sorry, guys.
Um, so here's a question, another name I'm not going to try to pronounce here. Do you have contact to Paul, and is he still the head of Sea Shepherd?
Yeah, I'm in daily communication with Paul Watson. Captain Watson is in Vermont, and Captain Watson is our founder, and of course, he's very much involved with the organization. So even though I'm the CEO, I always consult with Paul, but that has been the case ever since I joined Sea Shepherd in 2002. So Paul Watson is very much involved and will continue to be so. Yes.
Excellent. We have a Chris Vera here asking, could you please give us a little overview of how Sea Shepherd Global works with government partners and vice versa?
Yeah, the partnerships that we have, they're basically what we call Searider Agreements. So we offer the use of what we call a civilian offshore patrol vessel. So one of our ships, basically, we offer that to our partner countries, whoever is interested. Let's take, for instance, Liberia. So we get Liberian Navy personnel on board, and in other countries we get fishery inspectors on board, combined with Navy personnel. And together with our partners, we go into their waters, their economic zone, and look for illegal fishing vessels that are operating within their territory. So basically, our government partners have the power to make the arrest or to do the inspections, and we're basically just facilitating our vessel. And of course, with our knowledge and with our crew, with our equipment, we help them to stop illegal fishing.
Cool. We have a question here from MSP Spotter. How long is the fundraiser? Maybe you can tell people again about the fundraiser a little bit.
Yeah, so the fundraiser, we're starting today. It just came live, and we're hoping to reach our match, which, as I said, is 60,000 euros or 100,000 Australian dollars. We're hoping to reach that by the end of the month. So, of course, the more people donate and the quicker everybody is able to help us with this fundraiser, the quicker we'll reach that goal. And that money will keep our ships going for a couple of months, and that's really important to be able to let our crew know that we don't have to worry about the funding, everything is taken care of, and they can just focus on the job and go after the poachers.
Then we have Aaron Peevler. What about turtles? How are you going to protect turtles?
Yeah, we're definitely looking at turtle campaigns. We had campaigns in Mayotte with Sea Shepherd France. There was campaigns in Nicaragua. We have campaigns in Costa Rica and Mexico. The problem at the moment is with these land-based campaigns, if you're operating in an area where there's a high density of COVID infections, then of course it becomes problematic to send our crew into those areas. There's lockdowns, there's restrictions. So at the moment, unfortunately, we are unable to start these campaigns because of the restrictions that we're facing in those countries. Now, once those restrictions become lighter, once we'll be able to travel again to those countries, then we're certainly going to reassess and to be able to be back out on the beach and patrol those beaches. But at the moment, because of the situation, the pandemic, it's just not possible.
All right. And we have Jessica McDonald asks, as so many people around the world are furloughed at the moment, what can the public do to help support Sea Shepherd?
Yeah, I understand there's a lot of things going on right now in the world, and they're all extremely important events, of course, as the Black Lives Matters movement, which is extremely important worldwide, the COVID pandemic, which is extremely important right now. But at the same time, poaching continues, and we're an anti-poaching organization, and we're asking our supporters to help us get back out on the mission, because during this pandemic, it seems like poaching has realized that without any control out on the water, they can just fish with impunity. So we really, really need to be back out there. So we're really hoping that, despite everything else that's happening in our world, that we can get enough people to support our mission and our campaign.
And what can people do to do that?
People can help us by supporting this fundraiser. People can also make their own fundraiser on Facebook, or people can just simply rally support for our organization and for our missions and our campaigns, and read up on the issue, and just try to find out what's happening in the world, try to find out what's happening with illegal fishing. But the bottom line really is, we need funds to keep going, And the more we are getting, the better we can do our work. And hopefully in the next year, we'll be able to add more vessels to our fleet, because we've realized that our current fleet is just not going to be big enough, because everything that's happening in the world right now, we need more vessels. We luckily have enough applications to put more people on board, and that goes back to the previous question where people saying, what can we do to come on board? Well, the more vessels we get, the more the chances are that somebody will be able to join our crew. So yeah, in a way, by donating to Sea Shepherd, your chances of getting on board are going to be bigger.
Excellent. We have someone here asking, is there any way to do more against shark finning?
Yes, against shark finning, Sea Shepherd, actually, I'm personally part of a European Citizens Initiative. This, of course, is applicable to Europe, European citizens, what I'm saying now. We are trying to get a ban on the trade of on the import, trade of shark fins in Europe. That would be a massive blow to the shark finning industry that is shipping through Europe. So what we're doing is we start what's called an European Citizens Initiative. It's not a petition, it's actually an official European voting tool where we ask European citizens to vote. If we get 1 million signatures before the end of the year, then the European Commission will have to discuss the topic and hopefully put measures in place to stop the trade of shark fins in Europe. So that will be a massive blow to the shark finning industry. And of course, our campaigns in West Africa are extremely important. Our campaigns elsewhere in the world are extremely important. Whenever we catch a shark finner, whenever we catch a vessel that is fishing for sharks, or a vessel that is illegally fishing for sharks, or like in case with the Labika 2, a vessel that we caught in Liberia 2.5 years ago, they had a hidden shark liver oil factory on board. And based on the catch documents of that vessel, we estimated that they were killing approximately 500,000 sharks every year. Now that vessel has been held in port for 2.5 years, so effectively we save over 1 million sharks just by that one arrest. So yeah, supporting us is going to help the sharks tremendously, but also the petition is going to help. There's many things you can do. I also know there's a situation, there's a similar action happening in the US to also stop the trade of shark fins. Canada has already adapted the regulations. The UK, there is movements towards that goal. So the more people realize that sharks are there to be protected, the more the support we will get. So we have to get away from the whole idea that sharks are monsters out in the ocean to eat you, because they're clearly not. They're apex predators, extremely important for the ecosystem, and we need to do whatever we can to protect them.
Definitely. And for you European citizens, the link to the initiative that you can help us sign is in the comment section right now, so you can click on that and you can help us out and help the sharks.
Yeah, and keep in mind, it's not a petition, it's an official voting tool, so you're being asked data like passport information. Sea Shepherd doesn't get any of this information. This goes directly to the European Commission. We only know how many people voted from country X and country Y. But it's really helpful if everybody votes.
Exactly. So we have another question here. Is Peter Hammerstedt a good friend of yours, or is he just a colleague?
No, Peter is a very good friend of mine. Yeah, we sailed together since 2004. We spent many years on board the bridge together. Peter first started as a quartermaster when I was first mate under Captain Paul Watson. And then when I became the captain, Peter became my first mate. And then when I left the ship, Peter became the captain. So yeah, we've gone through the ranks together, and yeah, we're absolutely very close. Is this a question from Peter actually?
No, I don't think so. But
No, we're very good friends, and it's always fun to hang out with Peter. And normally we do, normally we have opportunity to do events together or to go to the ships together. But of course, we've also been in self quarantine ourselves, so it's yeah, the only communication we've been having with our fellow staff members and friends in Sea Shepherd is mostly through email and Skype and Zoom calls. But hopefully that'll change soon and we can do events together again. But yeah, definitely a good friend.
excellent. So we have two more questions, and then I think we'll close off for this time around. But we'll take the first of those two. Is Adam Bailey? Where does all the money for the vessels come from?
Well, all the money from the vessel pretty much comes from generous donors like Philip Wallen, who put this matching gift out. and to people who donate to this. So basically, it's from individuals around the world. Of course, there is bigger donors like, for instance, Bob Barker, Mr. Bob Barker. He donated a vessel to us, but things like that don't happen all the time. We don't have, somebody, a millionaire who buys a ship for us every year. It's very rare that it happens, of course. Otherwise, we'd have more than the amount of ships that we have. But basically, people in the street, but also people that buy our merchandise. Our merchandise is, as a lot of people know, there's a lot of things that you can buy, and that's everything supports our mission. All the profit from that merchandise goes directly into the campaigns. So every euro you spend, after the overhead, I think about 90% goes directly into the mission, and that makes us one of the leanest organizations out there.
Exactly. I've actually spoken with our finance department about this recently. They say 95%. Super impressive.
95. Yeah, we got better because we're saving on office space right now because we're all working from home.
There you go. So we have the last question here. What happened to the Emmanuel Bronner and the Hieromora Sandoval? I haven't heard of those ships in years.
The Hieromora Sandoval actually is fully operational in Cabo Verde. We gave the vessel to Biosfera, the local nonprofit, and together with them we do beach cleanups where we clean the nets of, for instance, Santa Lucia, one of the remote islands. That's an important loggerhead turtle nesting ground. Every year the nets wash up on the beach, so together with Biosphere we go there to collect those nets so the turtles can get on the beach and nest. So they're operating all the time. So that vessel is being used year round, and Sea Shepherd is actually supporting their mission. So we partly fund their important work. As for the Emmanuel Bronner was in a massive refit that was finished in February this year, and the plan was to be back out on campaign in May. But of course, the pandemic put a stop to that. So unfortunately, we're hoping that maybe we can do another month or two towards after the end of the summer. But as it stands now, it's very unlikely that we'll be allowed to go out there with our vessels and do the patrol. So we're hindered very much by this COVID outbreak. So hopefully next year everything won't be as bad as it is now when it comes to the restrictions, and we'll be able to get back out there. But the Emmanuel Bronner is pretty much ready to go.
Excellent. Well, that was about it. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. I'll let you take from here, Alex.
All right. I'm sorry that we have to cut it short, but we have another live feed coming on Friday, I believe, Lucas.
Yeah, that's correct. So we have another live feed. This is actually the announcement of it. We have a live feed with Peter Hammerstedt and our generous donor Phil Wallen. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah, so make sure you tune in to that live feed as well, and to listen to Philip's personal opinion about our campaigns and why he's been supporting Sea Shepherd for 15 years. And of course, you'll be able to talk to Peter as well there. So that's it for me now. I just want to thank everybody who has donated and will be donating. Your donation will help us keep going. Your donation will help our ships and our crew to stop illegal fishing. So please donate, please help us. We need your support. And if you already have donated, if you already have supported, we thank you very much. You make us, thanks to you, we're out there. Thanks to you, we're able to stop the poaching. So together we'll shut down illegal fishing. Thank you so much.